Buenos dias.
Feliz Navidad.
We are Carl,
And Sue,
Peterson, Covenant missionaries.
living and serving in Mexico City.
We both come from Covenant families,
I grew up at First Covenant Church in St. Paul, Minnesota.
and I grew up as a pastor's kid mostly in Illinois. We both graduated from North Park
But we met each other at First Covenant in St. Paul.
because Sue grew up there and my dad was called to serve as pastor there.
We have been Covenant missionaries for over 25 years in Mexico.
I focus on congregational vitality, and I'm part of the leadership team of the Mexico Covenant Seminary.
And I'm weaving spiritual direction practices into the different ministry areas where I serve. I'm also on the national team for pastoral care for MIAM. MIAM is ministering to the abused and exploited in Mexico and also walking alongside people in local groups.
We have 2 grown children,
Zachary is 23 and lives and studies and works in Chicago.
and Jonathan is 20 years old and lives with us in Mexico City.
We just want to thank you today for your financial and prayerful support for us over these years. We'd also like to share a little bit about one of our Christmas traditions here in Mexico.
A posada is a Mexican tradition that goes back hundreds of years, when Catholic priests wanted to introduce the nativity story to the Mexican people who had a December celebration that was not Christian.
So posadas are held during 9 nights before Christmas, and each night represents a month in Mary's pregnancy. Families, neighbors, friends gather to reenact Mary and Joseph's search for a place for Jesus to be born in Bethlehem.
During the posada, which means inn, 2 groups are formed,
One group goes outside and plays the role of Mary and Joseph seeking shelter.
and the other group stays inside and plays the role of the innkeeper who has no room for Jesus. There's a traditional song that is sung and replays the conversation between the innkeeper and Joseph.
And during the last stanza, the posada hymn, the innkeeper recognizes who Mary and Joseph are and welcomes them into their home.
Then, of course, there's food and a warm beverage. So every night, the posada is hosted by a different family, and with different families sharing and bringing food and beverages, and of course, breaking a piñata.
But the piñata is more than a game because it's very rich in symbolism.
The traditional piñata is in the shape of a star that symbolizes the star that the wise men followed to worship Jesus.
Its 7 peaks represent 7 deadly sins.
And the blindfolded person with the stick represents the Christian who is fighting off sin with faith.
Yes. And all the candies and the goodies that fall from the piñata, they represent the gift of the grace of God.
And the people gathered around the singing encouragement represent the church who is encouraging the Christian to be faithful in their spiritual journey.
Now, we've hosted posada and piñata parties in our home for many, many years. In this place, we offer people a time to connect with God in community.
So we eat, we play Christmas-themed games, singing Christmas carols, and closing with Silent Night sung by candlelight. It's a holy moment in time when Christ is present to all.
So we want to thank you once again for your prayerful and financial support that makes ministry possible here in Mexico City.
So we encourage each of you to be Posada people where you live and serve in your community. Gracias.
Feliz Navidad!